Hello there, I'm Dominic St-Pierre. You're listening to Go Podcast. I'm a software engineer. I've been writing Go since 2014, something like that. And I really love Go. Still continuing this podcast. Go Podcast turned 4 years a couple of days or a couple of weeks ago. Well, basically it was in January, whatever. Trying to find a co-host. I'm trying to find some dynamism for the next year or so, the next years. Try to a little bit, find some refreshing the podcast a little bit and whatnot. So you might heard a couple of voices in the following weeks. My goal would be to find a couple of co-hosts that jump here and there often with me and doing some episode. I'm looking at a lot of people that are different than me. I'm mostly on the startup, software as a service, consulting, things like that. I have not worked a lot in organization and whatnot, and I think it could be interesting to have a lot of people that are on the other side of the spectrum and whatnot. Either as interview, I will continue to in interviews, but I'm just looking to have something different. And speaking of difference, well, I decided to unarchive StaticBackend. So StaticBackend is one of my open source projects. I started that as a closed source software as a service in 2019. Open sourced it in January 2020. So basically, it was a decision that I took at that time to try to get more traction, and I was not sure I wanted to pursue that only as a closed source software and whatnot. Long story short, I kind of decided to archive it in June of 2024. So what it is, it's a Go web application. Well, basically a backend that facilitates the creation of I would say, MVPs and small application and prototype, and can grow as well to something bigger and whatnot. And I wanted that to be easy to self-host. It's kind of a Firebase alternative, although it's not that really. More along the line of Supabase potentially. I was not aware of Supabase when I launched that. When I created that, I came across Supabase when they got their first 30 million in funding. It was like 1 year after me open sourcing StaticBackend. I've talked with the CEO of Supabase 2 times in the duration of me running that. I talked with 2 potential VC funding firm and whatnot. I was really hoping to have something at some point because I was seeing how they accumulate all this millions in funding, and basically when we talk, well, they even mentioned that I had some very interesting aspect myself implemented, basically around security and whatnot. And also the way that I'm doing function as a service. Well, it's not really function as a service. It's just Goja. Goja is a JavaScript runtime basically that we can run from Go, and I took that and plugged a lot of functionality that are exposed to the function that you are creating, and now you are internally in the same process. You can call. You can send email, you can fetch some database, update database records and whatnot. You can do a lot of things directly in your function, but it's not really it's not a function as a service like we know that from let's say Amazon Lambda and whatnot. So it's really just an internal piece of JavaScript that's run inside of the Go runtime that I built in StaticBackend. So basically a database, an instant database, something that you can quickly have user authentication, and all of the records are secured by default. So basically you always need to pass some kind of authorization to the request that you are using. And yeah, I mean it's using it's a multi database application, meaning that you can use MongoDB, you can use Postgres, you can use SQLite, you can even use an in-memory provider. So I put a lot of work and efforts, and there were people that help a little bit as well. So there were some contribution at some point, but I just got discouraged for the lack of traction. To be frank, I was looking at others that were getting a lot, not only Supabase, but other that were getting funding and whatnot, and I was like, I would love to continue, but I'm not able to A, get some kind of traction at all, and B, I mean, after 4 or 5 years, it was pretty hard to continue. So I decided to archive the project. I knew that potentially I could return to that. It's pretty hard when you take a decision to archive an open source project that you have been working so hard on. 5 years is a lot of time when you think about that. Let's say we have a, I don't know, for a 40 years career, and maybe 45, I don't know. So 5 years is still a good chunk of of that time. Deciding to archive that is never easy. I'm not sure where I am at the moment, if what exactly will be different, but looking at what we are building at the moment, and a lot of people are using LLMs and whatnot to build front-end application. They need some kind of backend, so they need some kind of quick, be quickly up and running with a some kind of database as well to keep the data that they are using. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a little bit more appetite for this kind of backend at the moment. If you take just an example, I don't know how it works exactly, but I believe that some people are kind of prototyping some application on those platforms, say Claude or whatever, and there's a way for them to build the front end there, but they there's no persistence, there's no backend and whatnot. So I don't know. My assumption at the moment is a little bit of that. And I would say 90% is due to me wanting to have fun again programming. And I will not try to be how can I say that? I will try to stay positive a little bit, because I'm very excited to restart that. But on the other hand, the reason that I'm here at the moment on archiving the project and restarting it is kind of sad a little bit, because to be frank, I missed greatly, deeply me working on the real software, the way that I like to work on the software, which is taking a problem, taking some time to think about that, thinking about a solution that could be interesting, and implementing the solution, writing the test, the good old software engineer way that we have been using. I feel like I'm not doing that these days for a lot of reasons, that I won't go into that because I already record an episode, and I kind of slide or slipped into, I don't know. It was more a rant than anything else. So I will just end on that tangent by saying that I want to have fun again. I just want to, I don't know, be in control, fix my own issue myself, decide where I'm going, not have a tons of crap that is added to my project and whatnot. And for those that read between the lines, yeah, of course I'm talking about LLMs, right? So I want to restart this project. I want to, I just want to, I just want the pacing to be a little bit slower. I just want to have fun. That's really the key word here. And I think that there's something at the moment again for this type of application, and looking at what I've been done so far in the 1.5 years that the project was archived. I think I'm in a good spot. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to get traction, but again, it's not something that I want to just throw it in the trash. I think I still have some angle. I personally will use it in a startup idea. Well, I don't like this word. It's not a startup. Let's just say a small product idea that I would like it to become something. So let's be real and call the things what they are. I don't want to start a startup myself. I don't want to be a billionaire or I don't want to make 1 million ARR. I just want, at the end of the day, a small product that allows me to pay my bill and bring money for my family, and that's it. That's always what I've been looking for since 2008, basically, since the day that I decided the 9 to 5 is not for me. I started my company and back then, and that is what I'm chasing since that time. And it's very it's very hard to admit that it will be soon 20 years, but I will probably get there at some point, and I will continue trying. So on archiving an old project could be extremely crazy if it has been written in TypeScript with a lot of dependencies and whatnot. I mean, I could not imagine how many hours probably I would have to clean everything up. And it's not the first time, I would say, that I'm kind of reviving a Go project, but it's it's a decent size project, and it's a little bit it's not that it's not a super complex project, but there's a lot of pieces to that. There's some kind of real-time collaboration as well. There's some kinds of event-driven activities that is going on in the system. For example, if we return to the idea of running some kind of functionality on the server, on the backend, those functions can be triggered, of course, by URL, but most interestingly, they could be triggered by some kind of event that occur on the systems, either being system-level events. For example, let's say you want to trigger a function when a certain collection of your data changes. I call that, collection. Let's call that a table, because I'm using Postgres these days. At first, when I started to build StaticBackend, I was kind of all in on MongoDB for that kind of project, because it's extremely dynamic the way that the user of the system decide, what, I will have a list of, I don't know, orders, for example, or products or whatever. You decide exactly what you want to have in your database, and you decide exactly what kind of field that you have in your database. So if you put yourself in the shoes of the primary target for this project, it's mainly front end people that are building probably web application or mobile application, and they don't they don't want to build a backend. They want to use a static backend for that, for example. So basically, they could have some kind of in TypeScript, they could have some kind of interface, for example, that represent their product, and this is what gets saved to the database. And I was using Mongo at first because Mongo doesn't really care about the schema and whatnot. And but in Postgres, we have the JSON data type since a long time now that you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of querying, and you can even add indexes on some properties of this thing. So without going in too crazy about that, I introduced Postgres at some point, and I to my knowledge, I don't believe that there is a lot of open source project at all that that are flexible enough to let the user, or at least the person that is going to self-host this, if they want to self-host the open source version, they can change. They can change the data store very easily. It's two environment variable, and boom, you want to use Mongo. Well, you change the database URL in your environment variable. You change the data store, and you put the Mongo value there, and that's it. And same for SQLite, and same for Postgres. So to my knowledge, I don't believe that I have seen, and I'm probably wrong because of course I don't know all the projects, but it's not something that you see a lot. And I was pretty proud of that, although the test suite is abysmal a little bit, and the interface that I'm using for the data store is like, I don't know, probably around 30 function in the interface. But again, I mean, I'm talking about that, and I'm already excited to go return to code. I don't know if I can only make that clear with that episode. That feeling, that urge to, I don't know, read some code, implement new thing, make things great again. Just maintain a code base that you like at a pace that you like. Oh man, this I've been missing that so much. So continuing to my explanation of the potential front end person that want to use a backend. So they define their entities, if you will, and they get stored into a JSON data type in Postgres, for example, and on Mongo, well, it's directly there. And SQLite has the same JSON capabilities a little bit than Postgres. So from a front end point of view, you basically stay in the front end, and you kind of build your application. So maybe one of my mistake when I was trying to get traction was I was kind of in the impression that some gophers could be interested into using that, because I was personally using that I've built 2 or 3 products. I don't recall exactly, but the real thing that came out to the world that got some level of success or not, but they still they were still launched, and they were paying customers at some point. Personally, building a Go application and using that, it was, for me, it was nice, because when you think about that, I was defining my struct in Go, and I was using the Go client CLI for static backend, and my handler was extremely quick, because now it encapsulates a lot of functionality for you. But again, maybe I was trying too hard to push that there, or maybe since I am a Go developer, and I really love Go. Maybe this is where I was hanging out more. Maybe I haven't done enough. I don't know, advertisement, quote unquote. This people that might at the end of the day might gain the most value out of that are probably, like I was saying, people that are building web application in some kind of JavaScript or TypeScript and whatever. So this is where I am going, and returning to the idea of resurfacing or reactivating a Go project. Wow, it was smooth. It was dead smooth. It was not the first time, like I was saying, but again, with the semi complexity of static backend, it's not just a CRUD application. Far from it. There's a lot of things going on, and on archive, I considered changing the license at some point. It got complicated because now I have some contribution. I would need to reach out to those people. I don't know, that is still TBD. I think I will stay with the MIT license, which kind of is crazy a little bit, but it is what it is. Seems to be easy to change the license, but when you accepted some PR and now there is some code in there, I would need to rewrite the code, which feel like a little bit on the gray side, to be frank. I don't really want to do that. I will need to contact those people and have them sign a coding agreement, that they, and I'm sure they will. We are talking about less than 10 people. It's like, I don't know, 7 or 8 contributors, and some contributed a very, very small amount of code. But still, I don't know. This is not really what I wanted to talk about, the license, but so re-archiving the project was nice. And what I thought the most about, because of course it built just as is, updated. I updated the Go version. I think it was, oh gosh, I'm not remembering. I think it was 122 or 121, 122. And just bump that to 125, rebuild everything. Seems to be nice. I think I needed to upgrade 1 or 2 dependencies. Don't recall exactly. But yeah, it just built. What I had the most issue with, of course, is everything around what I would call the DevOps activities, the tooling and whatnot. So basically, the GitHub workflow action or actions. I was using the Golang CI lint on one of them. For some reason, I don't know. Yeah, there was some errors, and I cannot really recall exactly how the states were. It was like June 24. June 24 was the date that I archived the project. So I'm not remembering. Suffice to say that this sucks. This process sucks of trying to fix something on the pipeline, on the CI, on GitHub. Well, it's not really GitHub's fault. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this is strange. I found this Act project, which seems to be what people are trying to do to test your pipeline locally. It's built on Go. I was not knowing of that project. I will link that in the show note. I tried that. It's interesting, very nice. It uses Docker. So basically, what I think it does, because I haven't took the time really to check exactly what was going on under the hood, but seems to be using Docker. Seems to be trying to replicate what probably the GitHub action runner is doing. So basically, it's able to it's able to process your GitHub action locally, and you can also just run a part of a one job, let's say one step of your process, if that makes sense, if it can be isolated and whatnot. I mean, there's a couple of options that is interesting. I use that. I was having difficulties. Yeah. Okay, this is where I wanted to go all this time. So what failed exactly? The test was failing. So basically, in the GitHub action, there's some tests. Of course, I'm running the test. So basically, what I'm doing in the main GitHub action, first of all, I will have a Docker compose that bootstrap a Postgres, a Mongo, and a Redis database, because that are the dependencies. That are the most. It's either Postgres or Mongo, but for the unit test, I want both of them, because I will test all of that in that workflow. And I was having some error in the function test. Remember the function as a service, that this is a component of StaticBackend, and there were some error there, and I was pretty intrigued to discover what it was. So again, it was using Mocky.io. I did not really remember. It might not even be me that have added that, to be frank. What I understood was that it was a service that basically you can send some HTTP requests, and it's there to either return you some data and things like that. Seems that they were having probably a free plan a long time ago, and it's not there anymore. So that was causing the failure, and it was pretty interesting to discover that, to be frank, because in Go it will not be your code that will fail after a long time. It's always about dependencies, and I was hearing in my head people complaining about this in the Go community, people that are saying try to lower the usage of your dependencies, etc. And I'm a huge believer in that, because I have been maintaining, like I'm repeating a lot in this podcast, I have been maintaining old .NET application for 20 years plus, before that the company was acquired by Equifax at some point. But the fact is, when you work on a system that is more than 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, you understand why the Go community is so adamant about trying to lower the usage of dependencies. It will, hands down, it will be what will, what will bring the most difficulties to your project in the long term, hands down. And that was it. And that was a third party. It's either worse. So not only close dependencies like libraries and things like that. That's one thing. Using third party services like that, and I'm saying that what I did to fix the problem, well, I use a different service. What can you do? Might be something that I investigate doing myself. I don't even know, because it was testing a fetch. So basically, like I was saying, StaticBackend has this runtime that you can run some JavaScript code, and I kind of re-implemented the fetch JavaScript command, because Goja does not have. It's not. It just run the bare the bare old school JavaScript. You can do some if, you can do some for and whatnot, but you don't have. Well, first of all, you don't have any new thing that we have at the moment, like the import system and things like that. So It's probably pre-ECMA whatever version. I don't care. I don't even know exactly. Point being, I re-implemented the fetch because now I have access to build a runtime. So I can create whatever function I want, and they are exposed to that kind, quote unquote, JavaScript runtime environment that I built myself. And one of those is fetch. And to test that, well, it was using a third party, and that third party failed. And I was like, what? So that was one of the thing. And again, Act was interesting to test my GitHub action at some point, because now I did that a couple of times, back and forth. You change something, you push, you wait, and you look at what's going on, and well, yeah, it's not optimal. And I also thought to myself, another thing that I use that maybe you don't know, and that is really helpful. The GitHub client, the CLI, you can watch. Basically, you can watch an action in real time. That was interesting. That was nice. You can also look at some of the log. It's easier, especially for me. To be frank, the CLI is easier than the website with my screen reader. For some reason, GitHub sometimes is not the most easiest to navigate and whatnot. But suffice to say that that was interesting. I did not really did that yet. I'm using the GitHub CLI for a lot of things, but I did not use that so far for the action. So you have the GH run. You can do run view, for example. You can pass some kind of IDs as well to get the log of some job and whatnot. I mean, it's working pretty well. So that was the main issue that I had, to be frank. Of course, the Dependabot kind of do its thing. At first, there was a lot. There was like, I don't know, 5, 6, or 7 dependencies that needed some update. Very smooth, very It's what you expect from a Go project. To be able to run, and there is still some kind of old code. I haven't checked because I did that part probably in 2019. So I'm on top of my head I don't recall, but I'm not sure I'm using any kind of new routing situation there. So that could be some kind of nice maintaining update that I would do. Trying sure to leverage as much as possible of the standard library and whatnot. It's a code base that it's pretty mature. I'm looking at improving that. I'm not sure there will be a lot of new huge feature that are coming on. What I'm after is trying to polish the the website documentation, how to get started. I think I was doing a good job of that, but as always, it's probably the kind of things that you think that you are doing correctly, but it's not. On retrospect, when I look at the documentation, when I look at the site, which is StaticBackend.dev, by the way. I haven't started to modify anything, so if you want to look at what it was looking at, what it looked like, what it was looking, I don't know how to say that. Screw that. What it looked like, whatever. What I was saying about that. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I will try to approach that differently. So there's a lot of, oh man, documentation is harder than code, and I don't think that I will be surprising anyone here saying that. It's always has been something that is difficult for a lot of project, and especially for us software engineer. For us, the project is clear. The project is I don't know. and you try to build some kind of documentation, but at some point, it maybe it's makes things less clear than what it would have been. I don't know. So looking at what I have at the moment, I have a description of the component of the system. I have a getting started, and I have documentation, and I have guide. I think it's too. I don't even know. Maybe the documentation, I will try to rewrite it a little bit like what we have at the moment, mostly everywhere. Trying to instead of describing that, more technically than whatnot, I will try to change the approach of being more practical. So instead of listing, I don't know. I don't know yet. It's not clear. Maybe I tried to bridge what a developer documentation is with a reference document. The reference of your API is what should probably be extremely technical, but the documentation is, step by step. What can you do with this thing? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done there, and I'm not sure how I will approach that, but yeah, I will have a look. So again, it was already exciting, already very fun. Immediately, I don't know, the kind of flow that I've been experiencing lately, either being me generating a lot of code or me having to review a lot of code from others that are coming from LLMs. I don't know, and there's something there to be said, that, gee, I'm not sure I like that. I will leave that on that word. The way that I want to work is, again, have some time in my head to brainstorm the problem that I'm trying to solve. Not running the gun and just asking the LLMs or the AI to solve it. That sucks, because at the end of the day, I just want to. I don't want to be inundated with line of code. That is another metric that I'm interested about. Like I posted on Blue Sky the other day. Back in the day, it was kind, and I'm talking about early 2000. It was kind of hype to write. Who's going to write the less code for something, or at least the less code that you are introducing to a code base? It means that it's probably less maintenance overall. And now, I mean, arguably, we might not be doing as much maintenance, for better or for worse. And I'm resliding toward this LLM things. I don't want to, because I don't want to scrap this episode. I will not record a third time. So yeah, I mean, this is where I am, continuing the podcast. And join if you want to join Go Podcast. We are on the Slack Gophers. There's all the links in gopodcast.dev. And on that, see you next time.